The following is a production of Shark Flight Media. Shark Flight Media. Shark Flight Media. Shark Flight Media.
From mechs to mages or agents to argonauts, this is the world of Chris Kennedy Publishing. This is the CKP Future Books Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the November edition of Future Books. We're winding up the year, and man, it has been a good one so far. The month of November is filled with wonderful books from some of our favorite authors. We are talking today with our editor, like we do every month, about the books that are coming out, and he is getting ready for FactoryCon in the metropolis of Coinjock, North Carolina. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, great to be here. The mighty metropolis of Coinjock, North Carolina, as it hosts the 6th edition of FactoryCon 2023.
We are excited, and we are really happy that you agreed to host it again this year. I hope that it goes as well as it has in the past. Fun had by everyone. Everyone I've spoken to who's gone to some of the previous FactoryCons had a blast. I know that you're looking forward to it. How many people do we have coming this year?
It's a little bit smaller this year. It's around 50, I think. The last couple were 80 to 100. This one's a little off, but we're going to have a great time. Just looked at the weather report for Thursday. Fishing's going to be wonderful. Seas are running, like 1 or 2 feet out there on the ocean, so it's going to be great. Looking forward to a great time. The weather's a little cooler this year, so hopefully the mosquitoes are already gone. That would be nice. And it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. We need to tell our listeners that, probably in about a week, maybe 2, they need to start going to the Facebook pages, because there'll be pictures from FactoryCon. Every year there's always several pictures of the fishing trip, and that looks like a great deal of fun. Oh,
absolutely. It's a great way to start the day. We head out there, I think, at 4 in the morning. So it's all day on the water. And I know the Oregon Inlet, where we're fishing out of, the boats brought in a couple 300-pound big eye tuna this week. So it would only take about one of those to make the fish fry pretty darn awesome.
Yeah, I think that would probably feed FactoryCon for the entire time if you got one of those. You catch 2 and it pays for the trip, and and you have one for yourself. So that'd be pretty awesome. That would be great. Well, we know you're super busy, so we're going to go ahead and jump in and talk about the books that are coming out this month. We're starting out the month with the 4th book in Rob Howell's Edward series, Farewell, My Ugly. I swear, Rob has gone out of his way to have great titles for this series. This is in his detective noir series. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, this is, like you said, the 4th book in the series. The Fire Hall Sagas that follow Edward. It's actually got a couple different names. It's the Edward Saga. It's the Fire Hall Sagas. But the neat thing about this one is it's the first one that is totally new. The other ones were re-releases of books that he had put out before. This one is brand new, so no one's seen it, and everyone can jump right in.
And then on November 10th, we have a new book by one of the grand old men of CKP, Mark Wandrey. I call you, Kevin, and Mark the 3 wise men of CKP. And I tell you, Mark did not put out as many books this year as we've seen some years in the past. But, man, this one is worth the wait. I mentioned to you in an email earlier in the week, this could have been the first book in a new series. It's going to take the 4 Horsemen in a different direction. We get to re-link up with some of our favorite older characters, and we get some new characters. This is going to be Winged Hussars, Andromeda. And I tell you, this is one of the best reads of the year as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely. The neat thing about this one is you mentioned setting up a new series, and it really does set the table for what comes after the Phoenix Initiative. And I'm really excited about this one because there's a lot of things that have been hinted at that now finally come clear. And it provides a lot of the answers to things that people have wanted to know, things that people had guessed at. Some they'll probably be right on, some they'll probably be wrong on. But it's really a book whose time has come. And like I said, it really sets us up for where we go from here, which is, working on actually finally ending the series and having it out in all the different ways that things need to be have out. There's a lot of enemies floating around there, and they all need to be dealt with. So that'll all get tied up here in the next series, maybe two. We're still looking at how to do it best, but probably the next series.
Yeah, I do want to tell people that, there are a group of people on earth that, just weren't raised right. They didn't spend enough time in church, and they get a new book and they read the last chapter first and go back and read the book. This is not the book to do this with.
That is not the book to do this with.
The last 2 pages of this book is a big reveal. So whatever you do not skip ahead in this book.
And that's after the big reveal right before it.
That's exactly right. This book has surprises in every chapter. And for those of us who were big fans of Sato, we get a full dose of Sato in this particular book. So there is no downsides to this. We'll be talking at length with Mark later in the podcast about this release. And on top of all that, for those who listen to the podcast, yes, this has a great cover. We did a great job. We got a good artist on this, and it's one of the prettiest covers for Four Horsemen I've seen.
Yeah, I think that there are going to be people at FactoryCon, the ones that got the advanced issue of this, that are going to be running around yelling, "Give me my children!"
So,
and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's a great book. So, we strongly encourage people to buy this. If you're a fan of the Four Horsemen, this is an absolute must read, because if not, you're probably going to be a little lost from this point forward. This is the template for the next, let's say the next series, the next group of episodes of the Four Horsemen universe.
Yep, absolutely.
Then on November 17th, RAE Precipice. This is Rise of the Automated Empire. This is a brand new series by a brand new author to CKP. This is his second book in the series. We got the first book in the series last month. This is getting great reviews on Amazon. This is a really, really good book. The political setup of the way that the author has done this book is unique. It's something I've not seen before, and I'm really glad that we got this book. It doesn't fit comfortably in any of the preconceived what CKP's done in the past with science fiction. So tell us a little bit about book 2.
Sure. This was set in a post-scarcity civilization up on the moon after there's been great conflict in the solar system. Earth's considerably diminished, and the corporations are fighting it out. Stop me if you've heard that, fallen world. But the corporations, in space are all duking it out, and the moon to this point has stayed aloof from all of that, but at the end of the first book in the series, they've decided to go all in, and so this is Luna taking its place, among the reintegrating into the rest of the groups in the solar system. So this one does have some combat, which the first one really didn't have much of. This one's on probably a wider scale than the first one. The first one was pretty much Luna-centric. So now we move out into the solar system.
And then on November 24th, for those of us who are going to be required to go to Thanksgiving dinners with our families and will be bored after about 30 minutes, this is the book you need to buy so that you have something to occupy your time when people are, when you're done with people and you're in your coma-like state after eating too much turkey. This is going to be Sons of the Wolf. This is a new book in the Last Marine series by William Frisbee. William Frisbee is kind of unique with CKP because prior to writing his science fiction, he consulted and had a website geared toward helping authors who were writing military science fiction, at least be semi-realistic when they were doing so. Many authors who write military science fiction have no military background. And when I was researching this month and was looking at Sons of the Wolf, it really occurred to me how many people who are associated and work with CKP have a real military background. And I think that's unique in publishing. We're probably the most top-heavy military background group of authors for any publishing company in the U.S. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. You can look easily at Kevin Eikenberry, Kevin Steverson, Casey Azell, myself. The next book that comes out in the Four Horsemen universe will be Michael Morton, who's also military. I mean, there's military after military after military. So that applies in a couple different ways. Not only are the ones written by those folks authentic, but the other authors that weren't in the military, have easy access to a wide variety of help on, getting their book done. And actually the folks that were in the military, have other services to draw on. For example, Kevin Eikenberry was an Army guy, a tank driver. Anytime he has questions about Navy or aviation, he comes and talks to me. Whenever I have questions on ground warfare, especially as it comes to, tanks and something like that, I go right to him. So it really, I think, lends an authenticity to the books that you may not find in other places.
Yeah, and somebody had a crazy idea once of taking a tank guy and have him write all the airplane stuff and have an airplane guy write all the tank stuff. I don't know who had that idea, but it sure came out pretty well.
It sure did. And that's because, we were there. That was Kevin Eikenberry and I writing Last Stand for the people that don't recognize it. And, which you should go by and read because that's really what happened. But we were able to, QA each other as I'm doing the tank firing commands and, he's flying in on doing things. And so it was a lot of fun. Getting back to, Son of the Wolf. That is the second arc here in The Last Marines. I have books 7, 8, 9, 10, which will come out every 5 weeks. So, jump right in. More's coming. It's not a George R.R. Martin thing where you're going to get one and then in 5 years you'll get the next and maybe you'll see a third.
Man, you're being generous.
Yeah, I know. This is going to be an every 5 week thing. This takes place after the events of the sixth book. The Last Marines have now come home to Earth and the moon. And the cover art is already out. I can tell you that is Stathis on his way to DC. You can see all of the Terminator kind of style cyborgs that are in his way. So it's yet another exciting book in the Last Marine series, which is one of my favorite series. And I can tell you this right now because this won't come out until after FactoryCon. But Bill Frisbee was last year's CKP top-selling author because of The Last Marines, so he's going to get a nice trophy here.
That is really cool.
He doesn't know that.
And he deserves it. He does a great job, and he's personable. He's available to all the other authors. He's a really great guy. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Oh, absolutely. He helps other folks, both with, writing military sci-fi. He also he consults on computers and networks and stuff. So I know he's helped a number of people, giving them advice when they're having issues. So he's a super good dude.
And that will pretty much wrap up the month of November as far as books coming out. There will be more audio books. I know Cause and Effect and Guilty Cage both will be out in November and December, which are both Fallen World audio books. Factory Con will be in just a few days, which is an annual event held by CKP, both for its authors and its fans. It's one of the most it is one of the best ways for someone to go and be able to meet a lot of the authors and be able to actually have conversations with them. It's not like these big, huge science fiction events where you walk up to a table, hand them a book, and they sign their name to it. You actually have time to have conversations with people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there's a potluck Saturday night where everybody sits down and has dinner together. I mean, you can't get any more informal than that. We have live entertainment on Friday night. We have a Sunday morning breakfast that Mark Wandrey and I usually put on. So it's all about meeting and hanging out, and it's great for networking for the authors, which is how it started. It's also great for networking, readers and authors, which is what developed when we moved here to CoinJock and started having it at the KOA. So it's a super great event.
Well, we can't wait till next month to have an after action report. Before we sign off for the month, traditionally in November, we talk about the year in review. How many books? Do you have any idea how many books we put out this year?
We are we're going to be just short of 60, I think, this year.
Oh, you took a break this year.
Which is, it's a little bit fewer than last year, but that was intentional. That doesn't really tell the whole story. Yes, we only put out 60,
only
books,
60 books.
Except on the CKPI side, the foreign translation, I think we have north of 200, I think it's around 250 this year. So the CKP as a unit did not go down, but the English side did. And like I said, that was intentional. I had an open week each quarter, which is why November only has 3 science fiction books. The first week, the third is open. And that gives us the ability to do a lot of things like run some specials and let people get caught up, and including the publisher sometimes. So that's all good. And I think that's, something that, will continue next year. Because it seems to be good for everybody.
Well, I also like the fact that this year we changed things a little bit. We had done this off and on in the past, but this year there seemed to be a real focus on when an author had a series, go ahead and get 2 or 3 books and then release them back to back to back, so people weren't waiting for that next book 6 months to a year. They knew that in 4 weeks to 8 weeks, they were going to be seeing the next episode and whatever it was they were reading. And I thought that was a really good change.
Absolutely. And, that was intentional also. It's right now, America, and a lot of the other nations are kind of a binge society. Thank you, Netflix and other, media outlets like that. But, they dump a bunch and you can just go right through things and you don't have to wait. And we wanted to give the readers that same kind of experience. So, yeah, we have stacked series and launched them all 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now some of those series are starting to come back around again. Abner Fortis, Lunar Free State. As well as the Prince of Britannia and Last Marines. Meanwhile, the Four Horsemen has just continued like it was going about every 5 weeks. So hopefully that really scratches the readers' itches.
Yeah, and I don't know if the readers have noticed, but one of the changes this year was we have started branding all of our material, and so it makes it easy when you're looking on Amazon trying to determine what you're going to read. If you see a book now that has the the logo in the corner. Every CKP book that's released now has a clearly identifiable logo somewhere on the cover so that you know this is a CKP book and you know that you're getting quality.
Yeah, a wise man once told me that was something that we really needed to do. So we jumped on it. I always like to have wise people tell me things, and sometimes I'm a little slower to act than I'd like, but that was a great idea, and I'm really digging it.
And other than that, we've added a bunch of new authors this year. We have kind of widened our scope. D.T. Reed has done a great job with her new series. There's been several series that aren't clearly, wouldn't 2 years ago been considered CKP books. Rob's knocking it out of the park with New Mythology Press, our fantasy arm. It's been a great year.
Absolutely. I think it has, very, very happy with everything that went on this year. The FactoryCon weekend is typically it was chosen because it's kind of the end of the con season. So this is, really a good time to talk about, looking back at the year in review, because that's what, FactoryCon, has been traditionally. And I think it's been a really good year. We've kind of gotten back out into the various conventions and, with the passing over, COVID and being able to do conventions again, that's been great. And, it's been great to see all of the readers again.
And to wrap up the podcast, I think you have kind of a hint of an announcement of a direction that we hope that CKP will be pursuing in the coming year. So go ahead and let our readers know.
I will say 2 words, and then we can talk about it a little bit more next time. And those 2 words are website sales.
Oh, boy, that gives us something to think about for the next 30 days. Is there any... Should be very interesting. The web designer was here in CoinJock this week, and he and I went out to the marina and had lunch, and we talked about what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. So I'm looking forward to this. It'll actually start prior to next year. So we'll be talking about it heavy next month. Well, that'd be great. And is there anything else we need to talk about this month before we wrap up?
I think that's good. I need to go get back to getting ready for FactoryCon.
No worries. Thank you so much for your time, Chris. This has been a great month. And guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and thank you so much for supporting CKP. Without you guys, CKP wouldn't exist. And like I said, we try to do the best military science fiction, some of the best fantasy of any publishing company, and we've grown every year, and it's due to our listeners. So thank you so much, and we look forward to talking to you next month.
And absolutely, thank you for everything that you've done this year as well, Randall. I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to the first half of the podcast. And now I am privileged to have Mark Wandrey, one of the founding members of the Four Horsemen universe, one of the 3 wise men of CKP, he, Kevin Eikenberry, and Chris. And he has a new book coming out called Winged Hussars, ANDROMEDA. This is, in my opinion, the best thing that he has ever written. And that says a lot, because one of my favorite books I've ever read was written by him, which is Black and White. This book ties up a ton of loose ends. I am so happy to have him here. Welcome, Mark.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Man, I don't know what to say. Great writing, great story. You tied up a ton of loose ends. And as I mentioned to Chris earlier in the podcast, this book, if you know nothing about the Four Horsemen universe and you want to start reading something in the Four Horsemen universe, you can start here, because this is a new beginning. Was that your intent when you started out to write this, to give us some new avenues and to allow the universe to expand from where it had grown to?
It actually was not intended as an intro book. I don't know if I entirely agree that it is. I mean, you probably could read it, and I always try to put enough background in that you're not completely lost in something like that. The two big intro books that I've written, obviously, are Cartwright's Cavaliers, and like you mentioned, Black and White. You can read either of those books and not be lost at all because it pretty much picks up from the beginning. But I guess Winged Hussars does have a lot of that element to it. No, the main reason I wrote it is because I thought it's a long time past that we have some more time with Alexis Cromwell and her Hussars, because I only written one book where they were dedicated to them, and that was the third book in the Four Horsemen universe, and I haven't read anything else in 5 years. They've been in a lot of books, but she's never started another one, and I was way past time to do that.
And you did such a good job. And the growth of that character from that first book that you wrote to this one, with her now being a mother and the children being old enough that they're their own independent characters in the novel, man, that's a lot of growth. And I love how the twins are emulating the parents. With the hijinks that they get into on the ship that her and her sister used to get into.
Yeah. A lot of people might not realize that she was part of a pair of twins too. Her sister died about 20 something years ago when she was relatively young. She had just taken over the Winged Hussars. We never really talked about their mother, what happened to her. There's a lot have been written about her, but no details really. So you just realize that the two sisters, Alexis and Katrina, were very different from each other. Alexis was very conservative. She followed the rules. She listened to her teachings from her mom, where Katrina was just like, she was a wild child. You weren't supposed to have pin plants till you were 13. That's a Hussars rule. She got her first set at 11. And by the time she was 13, when her sister got her first set, Katrina already had 4. So she was a lot like the leader of the Golden Horde, Sansar.
Yeah, Sansar, yes. The other thing that I found interesting was the fact that you had so many callbacks to earlier books, going all the way back to where the ship was found and the original founder of the Winged Hussars, which made me happy too, because the book that was dedicated to founding the group, was it a book or was it a short story where we met the brothers? And
it was a book, but it was actually 4 novelettes that were combined into a novel. That was Alpha Contracts. So you had the initial first contract of all 4 of them, or how they appeared back then anyway. And one of the only stories I've never told about the Hussars is how did a Polish mercenary company end up ran by a British descendant woman. So that's kind of a story all in itself. There's been bits or pieces of hinting about what's going on, but I've never actually explained the situation. I can tell the fans that the Hussars, over 100 years, has had 26 leaders.
Wow, I did not know that. That's interesting.
23 of them in the first 50 years. So they had a rough time when they first started.
And I will say that outside of the Depics, my favorite character ever. Well, no, I'll take that back. Outside of the Depics and Jim Cartwright, my favorite character ever was Sato, and we get him back in this novel.
Yes, you do. He's once again causing headaches for Alexis, which seems to be one of his favorite hobbies.
I think he is a human embodiment of the law of unintended consequences.
His problem is he almost doesn't know who he is still. He was so damaged from being a
Science Guild operative.
Yeah, so he's put together bits and pieces, but sometimes when he thinks about his life, he has to wonder if what I'm remembering is real or if it was implanted for an operation, a long time ago. And a lot of people haven't outright realized it, but he right now in the story time, he's about 150 years old.
Oh, yeah.
He was in his 20s at 5 years after First Contact, when he left on one of the first human-led missions to go out and explore around the Galactic Union. And he's been alive ever since. He was recruited into the Science Guild when he was about 25 years old. And they gave him life-extending treatments and all kinds of modifications and stuff. So he doesn't know what's going on with his own self sometimes. So in the period when he was in the first book, when you first met him in Winged Hussars, the original novel, his personality was almost a construct. He didn't know who he was. And we eventually get the bits and pieces of that in Sword of Minerva, which is his dedicated book, where you find out that it was the Rogel, it was Nemo that had actually rescued him and used his brain operating capabilities to bring back most of his memories. It wiped away the control and set him free, which is why they're such good friends. And he's always stood up for Nemo, even though Nemo was doing things he shouldn't have been doing.
Absolutely. And this book has probably more scope and more width. And
there's a lot going on, yeah.
There is a lot going on. Probably the deepest, widest book that CKP has published to this point in the Four Horsemen universe.
It's one of the biggest, too.
It's a great value for the readers out there. You're getting every penny's worth of your money out of this book.
Most Four Horsemen books tend to be around 90,000 words. This is over 120. But actually, ironically, the Four Horsemen, Hussars' original book was also the largest. So it happened completely by accident. But yeah, it ended up being pretty big. But I had to wrap up a lot by the end of it. And I didn't want it to feel rushed when it got to the end.
Yep. And I don't want to spoil anything. But when we're speaking of value for your dollar, it's the only book that I've ever read that has two great endings. So
it kind of got you by surprise there, huh?
Oh man, I did not see that coming.
Well, and I've written, I think I've either written or been involved in writing about 25 books in the Four Horsemen universe, not counting anthologies. And I will tell you, this is the biggest ending I've ever wrote. This has the biggest revelation that we've ever had to date. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah, if you read any of the Four Horsemen books and you're a fan, this is a must read. I have a feeling this will probably be your biggest selling book and probably your highest reviewed book.
That would be a trick. I think I have 2,000 reviews on Cartwright's Cavaliers now. So, but I'm fine. I'm ready for that. Let's make this a bestseller.
Well, I think it should be. It is absolutely tremendous. Off the subject of the new novel, I have a question that I wanted to ask the first time that you were on. This is, I think, Mark's second time on the podcast. The first time you were on, and I didn't get a chance, and it's actually more apropos now than it would have been in 2021 or early 2022 when you were on the podcast last. When you wrote the first Four Horsemen book, did you have any idea that a couple of years later there would be over 90 books in the series and that all of these authors would be in your universe and several of them becoming authors of note, not only with CKP, but with other publishing companies? Was that even on your radar?
Coming up close on the 6th anniversary of Cartwright's Cavaliers being published, you're asking me if I knew there would be 90 books and over 100 authors published in the universe? No, I had no clue.
You have to feel a great sense of pride. I mean, even if there wasn't any financial compensation for writing books, just being able to change that many lives from something you started has to be something you've got to be very proud of.
If something happened and I just had enough money that I could do whatever I wanted to, I'd still write these books because I love them. And I mean, I have some very dedicated fans, thousands of them actually. And not many writers of my experience level or, level of accomplishment have their own fan organization and everything. And the Mercenary Guild is a group with like hundreds of members all over the world. That's the only other one I know that has that is like David Weber,
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, Royal Manicore Navy. Yeah, absolutely. He has a lot more than I do, and he's written a lot more than I have, obviously. But no, I had no idea, and I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be gladder for the fans have given me the support and the backing that they have. They've, we're getting ready to release the Kickstarter, the game that we had a Kickstarter on 2 years ago. It took way longer than we thought, but again, like you mentioned, life sometimes is a real pain, and we've had a lot of trouble with artists and stuff. We wanted to have some good Casper drawings, and we lost 3 Casper artists along the way.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, it's been one of the biggest challenges, but I mean, we're wrapping chapter after chapter now. I just finished the chapter 7 in the book, which is settings. So I have dozens of worlds described and what it's like to be on Earth. And this is written in the setting of the Omega War. So this is right before the war starts, right at the end. So basically, you go from the end of Golden Horde right before the war started, and that's where you are at this period. So it's a very busy time. There's thousands of Earth mercenary companies. It's a cool time to role play in. And we may do supplements later that bring you up to speed later in the world as it moves along. We'll have to see. See how well the book sells after the Kickstarter.
Well, the the universe itself and the way the mercenary companies are put together really lends itself to a game scenario. So
there's so much adventure possibility. In the game, we aimed a lot for Traveler-esque, like the role-playing game Traveler. So you have all kinds. If you don't want to be mercenaries, you could be like, you could be pirates, you could be traders, you could be bounty hunters. There's all kinds of possibilities in this. And there have been lots of examples of Four Horsemen makers. There's facilities and instructions for how to make a group of peacemaker candidates or something like that. So there's an awful lot of possibilities. And it's also for the ones who don't role play, for the Four Horsemen fans, it's a source book. There is tens of thousands of words and details we've never laid down. The full physics of how hyperspace travel works. How do you build a ship? How much power plant does it take to operate a ship? All that sort of stuff. That the basics are like in Winged Hussars, but we've polished it over the years. So we poured that all into this book.
So you mentioned earlier, getting artists to do the artwork for the game. You have to be extremely pleased with the cover for this new novel. It's one of the prettiest covers I think that's been put on one of your books.
It's gorgeous. I love it. Absolutely love it. The only complaint people might notice is the kids are a little too big, but our artists couldn't quite get the right age because they're only 7 years old and they look like they're like preteens, so they're a little bigger than they should be. But it's perfect, even down to the poses and everything. And I love Alexis there with her kids. It's a great picture.
Yes, it made me smile when I saw that. When I saw that cover, the first thing popped in my head: Mark's going to love this.
Well, it was perfect because Joy did the sketch for us that we sent to the artist, and they pretty much gave exactly what we wanted. Yeah, she does sometimes some concept sketches for us and everything. She's an artist herself. She does everything from, fiber arts, and she does some drawing and stuff, and she's done sculpting. She does everything.
Some of her fiber art is out of this world. In fact, it's on my shopping list. The next time that we get together or see each other at a convention or something, I'm going to get her to do me a Depic for my grandson. So, does she sell any of that online, or do you have to go to a convention to buy like some of her fiber artwork?
She has her own. It's all available online. I'm just trying to remember the exact how the webpage works before I offer that to you. Yeah, it's her website is spinnersendstudio.com. That's all one word, no apostrophes. That's Spinners End Studio. And since she's a fiber artist and a spinner, that's kind of where that comes from. It's just kind of a accident that it's also wrapped up in Harry Potter. But she's also a Harry Potter nut, so I guess it kind of works.
And her husband writes Tartantulas, so spinner there too.
Exactly.
Well, I will put a plug in for Joy. Joy does wonderful work, and she does these dolls, for lack of a better term, of the Depics that are absolutely beautiful, and they're cute as a button. So, if you want to get somebody, they'll be available for sale after the Kickstarter finishes. We just have to get a bunch of them out to the supporters. So probably early next year, they'll be available to buy one separately. Yeah, so I will certainly put a plug in that, support Joy in this, because these are unique and something you'll not be able to get anywhere else. And she does a great job with these. She does.
And she's actually a writer and an editor in her own right, too. So
you married up.
I did. Absolutely.
Outran your punt coverage. So, what's in the future for Mark? What are we seeing? Are we going to get what does 2024 look like for you? Do you have a number of books that you want to try to get finished, or are you just taking things one at a time?
Well, my target is to do at least 4 books in the Four Horsemen universe, but I also have a trilogy in an entirely new universe that I'm working on right now. I can't give any details of that because it's not far enough along. I haven't secured any publishing deal for it or anything like that, so I'm just writing the first book now. And that'll be a space opera series, actually. So not really military sci-fi, but there is going to be a lot of military action in it. So no details yet, but coming soon. And let me see. The anthology just came out that was published by Three Ravens. That's the horror anthology that was launched on the Halloween, Friday the 13th. That came out last week.
Right. I saw that.
Well, and I'm not sure. So we're going to wrap up the Phoenix Initiative this year, and then Chris and I are going to have 3 books out together as well. So actually, it'll be 7 books in the Four Horsemen universe, but I'm co-writing 3 of them. And then
you're going to be busy.
Wraps up. What's that?
I said, you're going to be busy.
Well, hopefully, yeah. Hopefully I can keep up with it. And that will wrap up Phoenix Initiative. And then the next series that starts will be the last planned series in the Four Horsemen universe, where it all comes together. It doesn't mean no more books. It just means the main storyline kind of all comes together.
Well, that's great. I tell you, there's a lot of people who should be grateful to you, not just readers, but people who were able to fulfill their dreams of being writers. And a lot of that would have never happened. I've been honored to have about 10 or 15 writers who've went on to have pretty good success start writing stuff in the Four Horsemen universe. Absolutely. And I would have never gotten involved with CKP had it not been for you. So I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for all of your hard work. And, I certainly appreciate you. You've done great work. Honored.
And we've always played it forward. Every time we've done an anthology, every single one of them, which I think there are about 12 of them now, all of them had between 2 to 4 completely open slots where anybody could submit and try to be a first-time published. And so we've published brand new authors dozens of times.
So if people want to keep up with you, do you have any social media presence right now or just through Facebook, the CKP web? That's not always a good thing, but I've learned to be a little less vocal over the years, so that's probably good. And I'm a Mark Wandrey author there, which is also on my Instagram. There's a lot of co-posting there. I don't do a lot of intentional posts on Instagram. My personal webpage, which is www.worldmaker.us. And through that one also you can access the the Merchant Guild, which sells 4HU merchandise like T-shirts and things like that as well. Challenge coins. Well, I think that covers everything that's on my list. Is there anything you want to talk about that I may have missed or not know anything about?
I will be literary guest of honor at Tupelo Con in March, which is in Tupelo, Mississippi. That's my first ever guest of honor, so I'm extremely excited to do that. So anybody down south wants to pop over and check that out. It's a media con, which means there's a lot of pop culture. I think people from like Walking Dead and stuff are going to be there. So they have about 4 guests of honor, I think, of different categories, and I am the author guest of honor. So I'm completely excited about that.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, that will wrap up everything that I have, and you don't know how much I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us, and I hope we'll be doing this a lot quicker than we were able to since the last time, maybe in 4 or 5 months instead of a couple of years. So thank you so much.
Anytime, Randall. Thanks a lot.
You've been listening to the CKP Future Books podcast with host Randall Willis. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider leaving it a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you subscribe. Show likes and channel subscriptions are also much appreciated on the CKP YouTube channel. Finally, if you'd like to know more about this author or others on the CKP roster, visit chriskennedypublishing.com. Thanks for listening to the CKP Future Books podcast. We'll see you next time.